Hi everyone, and welcome to Rental Rookie. This is Emily Duplessis here, and today I want to talk about something that is very important when it comes to managing your properties, and that is the walkthrough. Now, at this point, you will have gone through, the finding, the analyzing of the properties. You will have bought in the property. If you've done any renovations, that will be done. You found a tenant. Okay, so this is one of the last things that you're going to be doing before you kind of hand the property over to the tenant and walk away. And I'm going to start a little bit by just telling you kind of a personal story about how I learned about the walkthrough, because like maybe you have learned on my website, I knew absolutely nothing about real estate, rental properties, investing, any of that. Everything was brand new when I started about 4 years ago. And I remember on our very first property that my husband and I bought, and it was a foreclosure that was owned by HUD. We had bought it, we had to do renovations, and we did, pretty much everything on our own. We hired out a couple of contractors for a few things that were just kind of above our capabilities, I guess is the nice way to say it. But overall, we pretty much did everything ourselves. We listed it, we took applications, we took tenants, possible tenants through the property. And then when we finally found, the tenants that we wanted, my husband said, Emily, we need to do a walkthrough. And I was like, a walkthrough? What are you talking about? And then he went on to kind of tell me about what it was and why it was so important. And, since then we've been doing them and I've learned more about them. And so today I just kind of want to share with you a little bit about the walkthrough. Four main things that we're going to do on this video. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to talk a little bit about when to do it, when we do it, and then kind of some of the laws that are required with it, why it is so important, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you the sample walkthrough sheet that we use with our tenants whenever we are about to rent the property. And so I will show you an actual sample of one that we actually did and is signed by both tenant and by my husband who signed it. So let's go ahead and get started. A walkthrough. What is it? Okay, the whole purpose of a walkthrough is exactly what it sounds like. You yourself, as the investor, as the landlord, the owner of the property, are going to walk through the property with the tenants. Okay, what are you looking for, I guess, is really the big question. Together, collectively, you are walking through to really take a look at, with a microscope and a microscopic eye, the things that are maybe brand new in the property. Maybe there are a couple of scratches, a couple of marks here, there. In essence, you're walking through, and the foundation of a walkthrough really is this whole idea of the security deposit. When you rent a property, you're going to collect a security deposit. Now, a lot of states will have stipulations on how much you can charge for a security deposit. So that's something as a landlord, as an investor, that you're going to want to take into account. Pay attention to what your state's regulations are. I know here in Virginia, which is where my husband and I live and where we currently invest, you cannot collect more than 2 months' rent. If you calculate 2 months of rent, you cannot collect more than that as a security deposit, and that's a law. And so that's something that you're going to want to kind of, on a side note, take a look at whenever you're about ready to lease your property, is what are the stipulations with the security deposit. But really the walkthrough is really, we do it because of a foundation of whether or not a tenant's going to get their security deposit back, but also because a lot of states require it, as state law, for you to do a walkthrough with a tenant. So again, as an investor, we're not just buying properties and renovating them and analyzing them and renting them on our own isolated islands. We have to take into consideration that there are laws that are different by state. So I can't talk a lot about them here, but you need to know that you need to look some of those things up, because the last thing that you want to do is rent to somebody who maybe is aware of some of those laws and can then come back and those laws can haunt you if you are not taking them into account. So I know that was a little bit of a sidebar, but back to the walkthrough. Again, the whole idea is you're walking through and you're taking note. Documentation is key. You're taking note of the various aspects of the property, and I'll show you that here in a minute. When to do it. Most of the time with the state laws, they'll require you to do it at the end when your tenant is about to move out. You'll collectively walk through the property and take note as to things that maybe there was a change in paint color, maybe they made some dinks in the wall, maybe they broke something, and that all is contingent on whether or not they get their security deposit back. So again, most states require you to do it at the end of a tenant's time in your property. Now, my husband and I, we do a walkthrough at the beginning and at the end. Okay? We found, and what we think is really important, is that you walk through it together in the beginning. And like I said, I'm going to show you our sample, and actually we can kind of take a look at it while I'm talking about it here. But you'll see that we have our move-in, move-out checklist right here, and we go through it at the very beginning. See, it even says on there, move-in condition, move-out condition. So when our tenants, for this property, our tenants are still in there now. It's been, about a year and a half or so that they've been in there. We will go back through and do this walkthrough at the end and see if there are any changes. So if you take a look at our sample, and we went through, and it's crazy and it seems tedious, but it is so very important. You'll see that little things, thermostat, washer hoses, locks, hinges, those sorts of things, you take account of those when your tenants are moving in. That way you have documentation whenever you do the move out walkthrough that, when we put this in, and you'll see some of the things, let's scroll down. Where I have it says good new beside it, like floors and carpets. We put down new laminate flooring and new ceramic tile. So those sorts of things, we have that marked. That was brand new. So if there are issues with it with move out, we have it documented right here. And so you'll see sometimes things aren't listed on the walkthrough agreements, so we add them in, but it's very tedious. And honestly, guys, a lot of the stuff I filled out before I got there, because we did so much renovating whenever we bought the property. So things that we did that were brand new, I went right through and I marked, new on there, so that was something that I didn't have to do as we did the walkthrough. But again, we made note of this, and the reason that we do a walkthrough in the beginning is because, again, then we have documentation, okay, that what the condition of the property was beforehand. This can alleviate a lot of he said, she said. Let's say, for example, that you are walking through with your tenants, they're about to move out, you're walking through, you saw the property in one light, they saw it in another when they moved in. You felt, as the landlord, that the carpets were fine. There were no issues with it. They were in great shape whenever you moved in. Your tenant moved in, there's some issues, some stains that aren't coming out, issues beyond wear and tear. Maybe your tenants felt that the carpets weren't in good shape when they moved in, and so the little stain here or the little stain there was just normal wear and tear. So whenever you come to the closing walkthrough, there's an issue there. There's a misunderstanding because you as a tenant thought they were fine, and that the issue and that the stains are beyond wear and tear, normal wear and tear, which you have to take into account, but your tenant disagrees, and you have no documentation on at all to base your decisions off of. And so that's one of the reasons why we do a move-in one, because we find that it's really important and it helps alleviate any misunderstandings, because you can kind of have those discussions ahead of time before your tenants even move in, okay, about kind of the condition of various things. That way when they go to move out, there's less headaches. There's enough to deal with when a tenant is moving out, because you have to relist, you have to re-show, you have to go through applications again. There's a ton of stuff to do whenever a tenant is moving out. So the last thing that you want to have to worry about is issues with reimbursing a security deposit, because there are, there are laws out there that are in the tenant's favor, and so you have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. I hope, again, that this walkthrough video has helped. Just to reiterate again, the walkthrough is exactly what it is. You are walking through the apartment with your tenants to take into account the condition of the property. When to do it? You have to do it by a lot of state laws at the end when the tenant's about to move out, but my husband and I, as investors, we do it at the beginning. So we do one in the beginning and at the end. Again, just for documentation. Why it's important? It deals with the security deposit. How much of that security deposit are they going to get back based off of how the condition of the property has changed throughout their time there. And again, our sample came from LegalZoom, but you can download them online. Like I said, I hope that this has helped. and happy investing.